Engspan Easy Spelling for English and Spanish Words, Part 1, Introduction. My name is Walter L. Williams. I received my PhD from the University of North Carolina, and until my recent retirement, I was professor at the University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA, and at the University of Southern California, USC. I taught English at Gajah Mada University in Indonesia as Fulbright Visiting Research Professor, and I also taught English at Buddhist monasteries in Thailand and Cambodia. In addition, I've taught English on both beginning and advanced levels in Cuba and also in Mexico. These varied experiences in trying to teach English have convinced me how difficult a language it is to learn. One of the biggest problems in teaching English is due to the complex and inconsistent spelling of words. To give just a few examples, the same oo sound, usually spelled oo, is spelled differently in different words such as blue, crew, do, Jew, nuclear, su, to, and you. The same eight sound is spelled eight, even though they're spelled differently and mean different things, they sound exactly the same way, as well as the words bait, plate, and wait. Espanol, the Spanish language, is much more consistent in its spelling, but there are some inconsistencies and complexities in Spanish spelling as well. The same s sound in Spanish is spelled with the letter C in centro or ciudad, and also the letters S as in cita or serenta. Some sounds in Spanish, such as the rolling of the tongue in the word ferrocarril and the double N as in the word mañana or piña, and also in English sounds such as je, like in words like pleasure and leisure, and the different TH sounds, which are different from the sound of T and the sound of H put together. The first TH sound in words like this, that, these is hard enough, but still another different TH sound in words like thanks, through, thorough, three, are even more difficult for people who do not speak these languages to learn. How is a person to know when a TH is pronounced as in words like the, this, that, or these, or thanks, through, thorough, or three? There is no consistent rule that applies to all spellings. Each word has to be memorized individually. This requires much time and effort to learn. This is one of the reasons why learning English spelling is so difficult. Spelling is not consistent. People who try to learn both English and Spanish find it even more confusing because the sounds of some letters are pronounced differently. For example, H in Spanish is silent, but in English it has the sound h. The letter I in English is pronounced I, but in Spanish is pronounced E, like an E. J in English is pronounced J, but in Spanish is pronounced H, like an H in English. V in English is pronounced V, but in Spanish is pronounced like a B, as in B. Two L's in Spanish are pronounced like a Y. So these are some examples of the difficulties of learning these languages. Every English language class that I've observed, the teacher assumes that the students must adapt to the language no matter how inconsistent, illogical, and difficult it might be. I proceed from a different assumption. Since it is the spelling of English that is the big problem, my assumption is that the spelling itself must change. If English aspires to be a truly global language, it must become more easy to learn. After years of study and experimentation, I've come up with a more simple way of spelling both English and Spanish words so that each letter of the alphabet has one and only one pronunciation for both languages. The purpose is to make it more quick and easy to learn to spell words. My Williams respelling system, which uses only the standard letters of the Roman alphabet, is part of a new combination of English and Spanish that I call engspan. For over a century, various scholars have tried to reform spelling in English, but without much success. The basic problem is that there are only 26 letters in the Roman alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. However, there are almost twice as many actual sounds in English pronunciation than there are letters. Linguists differ in categorizing the number of these sounds, between 43 and 54 different sounds, depending on how minute the differences in sounds are categorized. For example, the first letter A can be pronounced in English as A, as in apple, A as in 8, R as in the word R, A as in America, or A as in law. Over a century ago, a number of linguists invented the International Phonetic Alphabet, abbreviated as the IPA, by creating many new letters, for example an upside-down E or a backwards C, to represent these extra sounds. They also invented additional marks above standard Roman letters to indicate other sounds. While this IPA system has been used by linguists and in many dictionaries to communicate the actual pronunciation of a word, it is not widely used in regular typing and spelling. Part of the difficulty is that these new letters and markings above a letter are not part of a regular computer keyboard, so it is difficult for the average person who has not reset their computer to include such symbols to use the IPA spellings. Several decades ago, British spelling reformers decided to use combinations of English letters to represent these different sounds. This system can help people who already speak English to speak words more consistently and to spell them. However, for someone who does not already know English and is trying to learn it, there is no certainty if an A and an E together means a distinct sound, as in the combination of these two letters in the initial teaching alphabet, abbreviated ITA, or if the two letters should be pronounced separately as the two sounds of the letters A and E. The initial teaching alphabet also invented new letters that are not on the standard typewriter or computer keyboard. After several years of teaching and experimenting with teaching and spelling in several countries, the Williams respelling system as part of a new combination of English and Spanish that I call engspan. I draw upon the good ideas of both the International Phonetic Alphabet and the initial teaching alphabet, but have made spelling more easy by eliminating rare or difficult sounds. Difficult words in English can be eliminated by using a more easy word with the same meaning in Spanish, and rare or difficult sounds in Spanish can be deleted by using more easy words in English. For example, the long English word yesterday can be said and spelled more easily by using the Spanish word ayer, which means the day before today. Conversely, the long Spanish words correo electrónico are more easy to learn by the English word email, meaning the same thing. Except for the sh sound, as I will explain later, the only combined letters used in engspan are vowels. Because vowels have multiple sounds, I combine two of the same vowels together to denote a separate sound. By this method, I have established the Williams respelling system, which uses only standard Roman letters with only one sound for each letter with the exception of vowels. My system can be applied consistently to spell either Spanish or English words. After years of experimenting, I believe that the Williams respelling system represents an easier way to teach and write words in either English or Spanish that are consistent with the actual pronunciation of the word in the standard way these languages are spoken. I use standard Midwestern United States English and Mexican Spanish, since these are the way words are pronounced by the largest number of people speaking these two languages. By learning the Williams respelling system, people can learn and write the way a word is actually pronounced consistently and without having to memorize many inconsistencies. In engspan, only lowercase letters are used, thus eliminating the need for students to memorize the somewhat different shapes of capital letters. Capital letters are different from the lowercase letters and have to be memorized, especially the capital letters A, D, E, G, N, Q, R are especially different from their lowercase counterparts and require more memorization and greater time to learn for both English and Spanish. Capital letters are used to denote the beginning of a sentence and also for proper nouns, but they are not necessary in either of these cases. For example, Janice Wilson lives in Chicago, Illinois. The personal name of Janice Wilson or the city name of Chicago, Illinois are clear by the context of the sentence without having to use a capital letter. The name of the person who arrives in Paris, France is likewise clear without using any capital letters for either the name or the name of the city Paris in the country of France. In the case of capital letters being used to mark the beginning of a sentence, for a regular sentence, 2 blank spaces followed by a forward slash mark are used in the Williams respelling system. For a question mark is used at both the beginning of the sentence and at the end. This is already done in Spanish, except that the first question mark is upside down. Since keyboards in all other parts of the world besides Spanish-speaking nations do not have this upside-down question mark, it is not necessary. 2 spaces and a regular question mark are easier to write and learn. Likewise, an exclamation sentence has an exclamation mark at both the beginning and at the end of the sentence. By getting rid of capital letters in both proper nouns and to begin sentences, students only have to learn one set of letters, the lowercase ones. Do you think using a question mark at the beginning makes it easier to know that the sentence you are starting to read is a question? In my opinion, this use of a slash at the beginning of a regular sentence eliminates the need for a capital letter. This is much easier both for children and for other students than having to learn a whole set of different capital letters. Perhaps you will find it is easier to use a slash, question mark, or exclamation mark at the beginning of the sentence after getting used to it. What do you think? This completes the introduction to engspan spelling. So the next parts are other videos on vowels and the spellings of the different pronunciations of the vowels and on consonants. So after this, watch part 2 and part 3 of engspan easy spelling.